Walk down the soda aisle of any grocery store today, and you'll see roughly the same handful of names you saw 10, 20, even 30 years ago. Coke, Pepsi, Sprite, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew. But that stability is deceptive. Behind those familiar labels lies a graveyard of hundreds of sodas that never made it. Drinks that had loyal fans, clever marketing campaigns, and sometimes even genuine cultural moments, only to vanish from shelves and fade into nostalgia. Soft drink companies are constantly experimenting, testing new flavors, chasing new trends, and occasionally admitting defeat. For every soda that becomes a household name, there are a dozen that quietly disappear. What makes this even more interesting is that failure in the soda business rarely comes down to just it tasted bad. Sometimes a drink was ahead of its time. Sometimes it was launched into a market that simply wasn't ready. Sometimes it was a victim of its own parent company's shifting priorities, discontinued not because people stopped buying it, but because the company decided to focus its shelf space and marketing dollars elsewhere. And sometimes, as we'll see, a soda's death was caused by nothing more than really bad timing. Today, we're counting down 15 discontinued sodas that fans still talk about, still search for, and in some cases, still start online petitions to bring back. Some of these you'll remember instantly, others you might be discovering for the first time. Either way, by the end of this list, you'll probably be tempted to check eBay for an unopened can.
Number 15. Tab. Let's start with the one that basically invented an entire category. Tab was Coca-Cola's very first diet soft drink, launched all the way back in 1963, nearly 2 decades before diet soda became a mainstream household concept. It was instantly recognizable thanks to its hot pink can, a bold design choice at a time when soda branding leaned heavily on red, white, and blue. For nearly 6 decades, Tab quietly played a foundational role in the diet beverage world, essentially clearing the path for later giants like Diet Coke and Coke Zero to exist at all. Through the 1970s, Coca-Cola expanded the Tab lineup with various flavors, trying to keep the brand fresh and competitive. But the drink also became tangled in controversy over its use of saccharin, an artificial sweetener that was, at the time, linked to cancer risk in laboratory rodent studies. That controversy cast a long shadow over the brand for years, even though later research softened those initial fears considerably. The real turning point, though, wasn't the health scare. It was the 1982 launch of Diet Coke. Once Coca-Cola had a Diet Cola with its flagship name on it, Tab's slow decline became almost inevitable. The brand limped along for decades on a shrinking but fiercely loyal customer base before Coca-Cola finally discontinued it in 2020. Even now, there's a small but dedicated community of Tab drinkers who insist nothing else tastes quite the same.
Number 14. Slice. Before Sierra Mist and long before Starry, Pepsi needed something to compete with 7-Up and Sprite in the lemon-lime category. Their answer was Slice, launched in 1984, which replaced an earlier and less successful lemon-lime soda called Team that dated all the way back to 1959. What made Slice stand out wasn't just the taste, it was the fact that it actually contained real fruit juice, about 10% of it, which was almost unheard of for a mainstream soda at the time. That juice content became the centerpiece of Slice's advertising, built around the catchy "We Got the Juice" campaign, which positioned the drink as a slightly healthier, more natural alternative to its competitors. For a while, it worked. Slice built a genuine following and even spawned popular fruit-flavored spin-offs. Eventually, though, changing consumer tastes and Pepsi's habit of cycling through lemon-lime contenders caught up with it, and the brand faded out through the 2010s. Even in decline, though, Slice is generally remembered as a success story of sorts, proof that Pepsi could genuinely shake up a category, even if the win didn't last forever. It's part of a bigger pattern with Pepsi. Rather than sticking with one product forever, the company tends to let each soda have its moment in the spotlight before quietly replacing it with something new.
Number 13. New Coke. No list of soda mistakes is complete with New Coke, arguably the single most famous marketing blunder in beverage history. By the mid-1980s, Coca-Cola was losing ground to Pepsi in blind taste tests, and executives decided the solution was to reformulate the flagship product entirely. In 1985, they unveiled New Coke, a sweeter recipe designed to taste more like Pepsi. And they didn't just add it to the lineup, they replaced the original formula outright. The backlash was immediate, intense, and completely unlike anything the company had anticipated. Loyal customers felt betrayed. Protests broke out. The company's phone lines were flooded with thousands of angry calls a day, and people began hoarding cases of the old formula before it disappeared from shelves entirely. It turned out that all those positive blind taste test results had missed something crucial. People weren't just buying a flavor, they were buying an identity, a piece of nostalgia, a product they felt emotionally attached to. Coca-Cola badly underestimated that attachment, and within just 3 months, the company reversed course and brought back the original recipe under the name Coca-Cola Classic. Ironically, the whole fiasco ended up being great for sales, as the return of the real Coke was treated like a national celebration. New Coke itself didn't disappear completely. It stuck around in a diminished form, eventually rebranded as Coke 2, until it was fully retired in 2002. To this day, business schools use the New Coke saga as a textbook example of underestimating brand loyalty.
Number 12. Hubba Bubba Soda. Not every entry on this list needs a dramatic corporate lesson attached to it. Sometimes a soda just didn't quite work. Hubba Bubba Soda launched in 1988, riding on the popularity of the bubblegum brand it was named after, and it disappeared within about 5 years. The idea was simple. Take the flavor and branding of a beloved candy and turn it into a drink. The bright pink can certainly grabbed attention, mirroring the packaging of the gum itself, but the novelty appeal didn't necessarily translate into repeat customers. Interestingly, Hubba Bubba Soda found more of a home in toy stores than in traditional grocery aisles, which tells you a lot about how it was perceived, less as a mainstream beverage and more as a curiosity, something kids might grab alongside a toy rather than something families would stock in the fridge. Once that initial curiosity wore off, sales never really had anywhere else to go, and the drink quietly disappeared, remembered today mostly as a strange and slightly charming relic of late 80s marketing experimentation.
Number 11. Crystal Pepsi. If New Coke is the most famous marketing misstep in soda history, Crystal Pepsi might be the second most famous, and definitely one of the most visually memorable. Launched in the early 1990s, Crystal Pepsi was pitched as a clear alternative to regular cola, marketed as somehow purer, cleaner, and more modern than the caramel-colored drinks people were used to. Pepsi backed it with a massive marketing campaign, including commercials during the Super Bowl, positioning it as the drink of the future. The problem was that the product itself didn't quite deliver on the promise. Reformulating a cola to be clear meant altering the flavor profile in ways that many drinkers found off-putting, and issues with the product's shelf stability didn't help either. Despite the initial wave of curiosity-driven purchases, sales fell off a cliff, and Pepsi pulled the plug just 2 years after launch. It's become such a pop culture touchstone, though, that Pepsi brought it back temporarily for a 30th anniversary promotion, complete with a fan contest. Still, there's been no indication that a permanent comeback is in the cards. Crystal Pepsi remains firmly a nostalgia play rather than an active product.
Number 10. Jolt Cola. Long before energy drinks were their own massive category with dozens of competing brands, there was Jolt Cola. Sold from 1995 to 1999, Jolt holds the distinction of being the first energy drink released by a major American soda company, combining a bold citrus cola flavor with a blend of caffeine and guarana. Its slogan, "All the sugar and twice the caffeine," was refreshingly blunt for an era when most sodas tried to downplay how much caffeine they contained. What's fascinating about Jolt in hindsight is just how ahead of its time it really was. This was years before Red Bull became a global phenomenon, years before energy drinks became a billion-dollar category with shelves of their own in every convenience store. Jolt's detailed ingredient labeling and its unapologetic focus on energy rather than just flavor made it a genuine pioneer. Unfortunately, being early doesn't guarantee success, and as the parent company shifted its focus in the early 2000s, Jolt was discontinued. It never fully vanished from public memory, though. Dedicated fans have kept campaigns like SaveJolt.org alive for years, and the brand even scored a pop culture cameo in Marvel's Loki series, introducing an entirely new generation to a drink most of them had never actually tasted. Number 9. Lifesavers Soda. Candy to soda crossovers are a tricky business, and Lifesavers Soda is a great example of why. Launched in the 1990s, the drink tried to capture the exact flavor profile of the classic candy, with each color corresponding to a specific Lifesavers flavor: yellow for pineapple, red for fruit punch, and so on down the line. In taste tests, it actually performed quite well, which makes its failure a little more surprising than some of the other entries on this list. The real issue wasn't the flavor, it was the backing. Lifesavers Soda never got the kind of sustained corporate marketing push that a drink needs to survive in a crowded market. Without heavy investment in distribution and advertising, even a well-received product can quietly die on the shelf, and that's more or less what happened here. It ended up being the candy company's one and only real attempt at breaking into the soda business, and today it's largely forgotten, a footnote remembered mostly by soda historians and nostalgic collectors rather than the general public.
Number 8. Orbits. Few discontinued sodas are as visually distinctive as Orbits. Released in 1997 by the clearly Canadian beverage company and gone within about a year, Orbits was a fruit-flavored drink built around a genuinely bizarre gimmick: small, edible gel balls suspended throughout the liquid, creating a look similar to a lava lamp. It came in 5 flavors, including combinations like vanilla orange and blueberry melon strawberry, and it promised not just a taste experience, but a textural one. For a brief moment, that novelty was enough to generate buzz. People bought it just to see what it looked like and how it felt to drink something with little squishy orbs floating around in it. But novelty rarely sustains long-term sales, and once the initial curiosity faded, so did demand. Orbits was pulled from shelves within about a year of its debut. It still holds a special place among soda collectors and nostalgia enthusiasts. Unopened bottles occasionally show up at inflated prices online. And while clearly Canadian has floated the idea of a re-release over the years, nothing has ever actually materialized.
Number 7. Surge. For anyone who grew up in the 1990s, Surge probably needs no introduction. Released by Coca-Cola as a direct answer to Mountain Dew, Surge was a bright green citrus soda that leaned hard into extreme sports imagery: skateboarding, snowboarding, the whole aggressive 90s youth marketing aesthetic. Despite the extreme branding, it wasn't technically marketed as an energy drink, though it did carry a notably strong caffeine kick that fans appreciated. Surge built up a genuinely devoted fan base during its run, but declining sales eventually caught up with it, and Coca-Cola discontinued the drink in 2003. What makes Surge different from some other entries on this list is just how persistent its fan campaign has been. Petitions circulated for years, and Coca-Cola actually responded, bringing Surge back in limited runs and select regional releases more than once. It's become something of a case study in how a passionate enough fan base can occasionally convince a major company to revisit a dead product, even if only temporarily.
Number 6. Sierra Mist. Sierra Mist had a longer life than most drinks on this list, which somehow makes its eventual discontinuation feel even more surprising to the people who grew up with it. Introduced by Pepsi in 1999 as a competitor to Sprite, Sierra Mist never quite managed to dominate the lemon-lime category the way its rivals hoped, but it did carve out a stable, long-running presence on store shelves for well over a decade. Pepsi made multiple attempts to reinvigorate the brand over the years, including a 2016 rebrand and a 2018 name change to Sierra Mist Ultra and later Mist Twist, none of which produced the sales boost the company was hoping for. Finally, in early 2023, Pepsi retired the brand entirely, replacing it with an entirely new lemon-lime soda called Starry, designed with a fresher taste profile and bold green and yellow packaging aimed at competing more directly with Sprite. For longtime drinkers who'd seen Sierra Mist as a permanent fixture of grocery store shelves, its disappearance came as a genuine surprise, proof that even decades of brand presence doesn't guarantee a soda's survival forever.
Number 5. Pepsi Blue. If you were a kid in the early 2000s, there's a good chance Pepsi Blue is one of your most vivid soda memories, if only because of how strange it looked. Launched in 2002 and pulled from U.S. shelves by 2004, Pepsi Blue was a berry-flavored cola dyed a striking, almost neon blue, created specifically to compete with Coca-Cola's Vanilla Coke, which had launched around the same time and was performing well. Pepsi backed the drink with extensive taste testing and a splashy, celebrity-driven marketing campaign, including tie-ins with major film releases. Despite all that investment, the drink never caught on the way the company hoped, and it was quietly discontinued in the U.S. within just 2 years. Its unmistakable color came from Blue No. 1, a food dye that drew some controversy of its own around that time. Interestingly, while Pepsi Blue flopped domestically, it never fully disappeared. It's continued to be sold in various international markets, sometimes under different branding entirely, proving that a soda's failure in one country doesn't necessarily mean failure everywhere.
Number 4. Sprite Remix. Coca-Cola's Sprite brand has generally been a steady, reliable performer, which makes Sprite Remix stand out as one of the company's more notable soft drink missteps. Running from 2002 to 2005, Sprite Remix took the classic lemon-lime formula and infused it with tropical and berry flavors, launching in 3 distinct variants: Sprite Tropical Remix, Sprite Berry Clear Remix, and Sprite Aruba Jam Remix. Coca-Cola pushed the line hard with marketing, hoping to tap into the flavored soda trend that was picking up steam in the early 2000s. The tropical variant performed well enough to earn a rebrand and a few limited re-releases over the following years, but the other 2 flavors never found their footing and were discontinued without any real fanfare. Eventually, weak overall sales led Coca-Cola to retire the entire Sprite Remix lineup. It's a good reminder that even a trusted, well-established brand name isn't a guarantee of success once you start experimenting outside its core identity.
Number 3. Mountain Dew Pitch Black. Few limited edition sodas have built as devoted a cult following as Mountain Dew Pitch Black. It started life in 2004 as a Halloween-only special release, a black grape-flavored soda packaged in appropriately dark, spooky branding. The response was strong enough that Mountain Dew turned it into a permanent flavor, and it stuck around on shelves, and notably as a Slurpee flavor at convenience stores, until it was finally discontinued in 2019. Part of what made Pitch Black so beloved was how well it fit into Mountain Dew's broader brand identity. Leaning into the same bold, high-energy, slightly rebellious marketing that made the core Mountain Dew brand so successful with younger audiences. Frequent giveaways and promotional tie-ins helped cement its cult status even further. Despite a genuinely large and vocal fan base pushing for its return, Pitch Black was eventually phased out of the permanent lineup, joining the long list of gone but not forgotten flavors that fans still bring up whenever Mountain Dew announces a new limited release, always hoping this might be the one that brings it back for good.
Number 2. Coca-Cola with Lime. Not every flavor experiment needs a dramatic backstory. Sometimes a soda just doesn't click with the public, even with a full marketing push behind it. Coca-Cola with Lime launched in 2005, combining the familiar cola taste with a hint of lime, available in both regular and diet versions. Coca-Cola supported the launch with a fairly substantial promotional campaign, including an appearance tied to American Idol and a themed advertising tie-in referencing the old song "Put the Lime in the Coconut." Despite that effort, sales simply never took off, and the drink was discontinued by 2006, making it one of the shorter-lived entries on this list. It didn't disappear entirely, though. The lime flavor occasionally resurfaces as an option in Coca-Cola Freestyle machines, the touchscreen soda fountains found in many restaurants, which allow for a huge range of flavor combinations. That small ongoing presence suggests the flavor combination has a real, if niche, fan base, even if it was never popular enough to justify a full standalone product on store shelves.
Number 1. Vault. Topping our list is Vault, a Coca-Cola product sold from 2005 to 2011 that tried to split the difference between a soda and an energy drink. It combined a sweet, citrusy soda base with the kind of caffeine kick you'd expect from an energy drink, drawing frequent comparisons to Mellow Yellow and to Surge, the earlier Coca-Cola entry we covered a bit higher on this list. Vault was positioned as a genuine hybrid product, and Coca-Cola backed it with a serious advertising push, including a Super Bowl commercial, along with a range of variants like Vault Zero for the sugar-conscious crowd and several fruit-flavored spin-offs. Despite all that investment, Vault eventually fell victim to a shrinking soda-energy hybrid category and was discontinued in 2011. What sets Vault apart, and what earns it the top spot on this list, is the sheer intensity of its remaining fan base. Years after discontinuation, online communities are still actively campaigning for its return, pointing to its distinctive green and black can design and its genuinely versatile flavor lineup as things that no current product on the market fully replicates. For a lot of fans, Vault represents exactly the kind of product this whole list is about, something that had real potential, built a real audience, and still got left behind anyway. Looking back over this list, a few patterns start to emerge. Some of these sodas failed because they were genuinely ahead of their time, like Jolt Cola predicting the energy drink boom years before it actually happened. Others failed because of pure miscalculation, like New Coke badly underestimating how emotionally attached people can get to a familiar flavor. And some simply never got the marketing support they needed to survive in an incredibly crowded, competitive market, no matter how well they performed in taste tests. What ties almost all of them together, though, is the fact that they still have fans. Decades later, people are still writing about Surge, still hunting down old cans of Crystal Pepsi, still hoping Vault makes a real comeback instead of just a nostalgic anniversary stunt. There's something genuinely powerful about the emotional connection people form with the flavors of their childhood, and soda companies know it, which is exactly why so many of these brands keep getting teased, revived for limited runs, or referenced in throwback marketing campaigns. So if you spotted one of your own favorites on this list, you're definitely not alone. And if any of these ever do make a proper comeback, you can bet the internet will know about it within minutes. If you enjoyed this look back at soda history, go ahead and check out another one of our videos. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps a small channel.